Hey, can we talk for just a moment? I'd like to spend this week talking about something that's been rolling around in my brain for the last few months and that I'd like to share with you and get your input on. And that is, what is camping? Is RV travel the same as RV camping? Is RV camping actually camping? And if not, what does constitute camping? And in order to tackle this subject, I kind of have to go back and explain to you what our perspective is and how we got there. Don't worry, there will be plenty of visual aids. But my first experience as camping, and I have wonderful memories of this, is in the field next to my parents' house in Eastern Connecticut. When my grandfather would come to visit, he and I would sleep out in a tent in that field. And that was my first experience of the great outdoors with my wonderful, wonderful grandfather. And my grandfather and my dad and I also, a few years later, my dad rented a Coleman pop-up camper and we headed north to far northern Quebec on a fishing trip to Lac Simon. I remember that vividly because my dad forgot to zip the canvas where it attaches near the mattress, and sure enough, in the middle of the night, I rolled out down onto the ground. I have very vivid memories of that. But our first experience camping as a couple was really aboard our sailing vessel, the Drive South. Back then, about 25 years ago, we would practice the sailing equivalent of boondocking, and that's called gunk holing, where we would drop the anchor on our 134 in the mangrove swamps lining Florida's Gulf Coast and fall asleep to the beautiful sounds of the dolphins circling the boat and occasionally coming up to breathe. But camping for me really got started in earnest shortly after our arrival here in Utah. We would head out with my buddies Matt and Todd and hike into a lake deep in the remote Uinta Mountains that lined the Utah-Wyoming border. Find a lake that we had all to ourselves, drop a fishing line, try to catch dinner, cook freeze-dried dinner if we didn't, and spend the weekend out tent camping out in the gorgeous Uinta Mountains. I also took multiple kayak camping trips with friends all around the Intermountain West to places like Lake Powell and the Green River, camping out of the boat and using the boat as my backpack for days or even over a week on end. However, there had to be a way to involve Mrs. Grand Adventure in my camping. So I switched over from backpacking to car camping with a tent right alongside a location that we could get the vehicle to. And much to my surprise, she actually liked it. So we gradually over time decided to make things a little easier and moved over to truck camping. Bought a Toyota Tacoma, put a camper shell on the back, and we would sleep right in the bed of the truck. However, that would get a little cramped with 2 adults and 2 large dogs. On a trip that we took along the Oregon coastline, camping our way up the coast in our Toyota Tacoma, we decided it was time to do something a little bit differently. Got tired of using my dog as a pillow for my head at night. So, some friends of ours, Corey and Amy, had just bought a used casita, like around a late 60s, early 70s era casita, gutted it, and we're using that as a camping trailer. And at that point, I kind of drew the conclusion that if Corey and Amy can do this, anybody can do it, because they were like Johnny Outdoors. So we bought our first travel trailer, our 2016 Evo. And my past love of backpacking and remote car camping meant that I was also going to try to get the Evo into as many remote boondocking spots as I possibly could. To be honest with you, probably some that I really shouldn't have. But be that as it may, we were camping snobs. We didn't think that sleeping in a campground or an RV park was camping. As a matter of fact, up until that point, we hadn't even thought that RV camping was camping. You know, we'd be out in the middle of, one incident in particular that I remember. We were camped out at the Wedge in central Utah, and there was a guy not too far away from us that had his generator running, and he was inside watching the football game that weekend on the big screen TV. And I would just shake my head in disbelief, going, that's not camping. And you know, as much as our tastes have changed over the years and as much as our habits have changed, I still, running Grand Adventure, encounter camping snobs all the time. I'll get a comment about maybe the most remote boondocking that I could possibly come up with. And I'll get a comment that says, that's not camping. So that led me to ask you and ask myself these questions. So what does it mean to you to go camping? For us, we certainly feel like we're camping when we're out boondocking on public land, sitting around a campfire, miles from anyone else in sight. It doesn't matter if you're in a tent, a vehicle, or a hard-sided RV. However, in our minds, a campground or an RV park kind of leads to a gray area. Sometimes we're not RV camping, we're RV traveling. And for us, there's a distinct difference. Certainly right now, stationary in our RV in suburban Utah for the ski season, we're not camping. Nor do I feel like we're camping when we're in the countless other RV campgrounds or RV parks east of the Rockies where boondocking opportunities are scarce. That, to me, just doesn't feel like camping. That is my definition of RV travel. But there's a ton to see and do all across this great nation of ours, and an RV is probably one of the best ways to get out and see those things. So whether it is RV camping or RV travel, we enjoy using our RV to explore beautiful locations all across these wonderful United States. Whether it's getting out and learning the local history, or using it as a home base to recreate for hiking, kayaking, or mountain biking, or even just getting to know the wonderful local people, in our opinion, an RV is one of the best ways to get out and see the United States. We just have to understand and appreciate the differences between RV travel and RV camping, and appreciate both for exactly what they are. Now that's our personal opinion, but we would love to hear yours. If you have any thoughts about what constitutes camping, RV camping, or RV travel, let us know right down below in the comment section below this video. And while you're down there, it's extremely important to us that if you like this brief episode of Grand Adventure, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up down below. We'd be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. But if you're not yet a Grand Adventurer yourself, now is the perfect time for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a Grand Adventure, which we premiere every Wednesday evening. So, until next Wednesday, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.